Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show. Joining you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. And for the last time, the Arsenal News Show will be going into hibernation after today on Tuesday, with Monday, of course, being the raw reaction to today's final game of the season against Wolves. We're doing that tomorrow morning at 8. But Tuesday will be the first Arsenal transfer show of the summer. That's how we run things here. Once the season finishes, we start the Arsenal transfer show, and that runs all the way through until the end of the summer transfer window. The Arsenal News Show then returns on September 1st, or whenever it will be, and then a month before the January window opens, so December 1st, we then get back underway with the Arsenal transfer show, and then that runs until the end of the January transfer window. So there will be, the Arsenal transfer show will be back. So look out for the slight change of color to the thumbnails. It kind of swaps. It goes from white and red to red and white. If that makes sense. But speaking of red and white, brand new Arsenal kit has been purchased with, of course, the Champions League patch. Alexander Zinchenko adorns the back of it as well, which I realise now that there is some risk with that I didn't foresee when I decided to get Zinchenko. Now, there's no risk of Zinchenko leaving, but there might be a risk that his number changes. So, yes, if Kieran Tierney does move on, there is a small chance that Zinchenko might take the number 3. Hopefully not. If not, I'll have one of the rarest shirts that there is. So let's wait and see what happens. But fingers crossed, he stays at 35. But if you notice his change of number at any point during this season, then have and spare a thought for me. But good morning, those joining us in the chat box. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Yesterday evening, I was joined, or rather, I joined the Arscast and Arsenal Vision guys at Union Chapel. We in the audience to watch what was a brilliant show, accompanied by Ian Wright, who turned up for the first half. An amazing event. Shows, as you've probably seen from my Twitter feed, what I described as the power of a podcast. Seeing 1,000 people queuing up to enter Union Chapel. I wasn't able to make last year's. I'm so glad I was able to make this year's and speak to the guys afterwards as well. And it definitely gives you that. It gave me that desire to want to do a live show, a TGT, live show, probably in collaboration with others. And it's certainly something that I need to get. And I've wanted to do because I want to give you guys something to enable you to all meet one another that are based here in the UK or happen to be over during that period of time. So it certainly inspired me to try and sort something. But good morning to those in the chat box: Matt G, Carl, Penny Ween, Stevie, James, Paul, and Maximius, Kaiser, Temi, Paul, Odorile, Carlton, Stephen, Kevin, Morgie, Jose, Louis, and plenty more of you guys as well. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. Thank you so much, as always, for doing so. Let's get on with today's stories. First of all, we start with a bit of a downer, unfortunately. The first time that the new kit's being worn does start with defeat, which means that you can only go upwards from here. The Arsenal women losing 2-0 against Aston Villa. Still finishing third in the table, above Manchester City on goal difference, which will secure them Champions League football for next season, joining Chelsea and Manchester United. Chelsea, of course, were crowned once again as WSL champions. And hopefully, if Arsenal can avoid 4 serious knee injuries, we might have a chance next season of getting that title back to North London again. So fingers crossed for a more positive summer. And there's indications that hopefully there'll be plenty of business for Arsenal and improvements in the squad. So that's certainly something to look forward to as well. Congratulations to Luton Town, who will be joining Arsenal in the Premier League next season. An amazing story of a club, an amazing achievement by Luton Town, and some really cool stories coming out of that club. Particularly, my favourite is the fact that they're going to have to spend around £12 million reportedly to get their stadium up to Premier League code. I look forward to being in the press box in Luton next season, if indeed that is the case, and I'm there. So it could be very small, very, very small indeed. And obviously, we send our best to Locklear as well, who unfortunately suffered a collapse during the game. But I saw some images of him in hospital celebrating the victory. So hopefully that's a good sign. But our thoughts are with him and his family at the moment. And yeah, gutting that he obviously went through that. But also, Pele Ruddock Mpanzu, the only player ever to go from non-league to the Premier League with the same club. What a story. And you can see him enjoying himself relatively well there. And I'm sure they'll have an amazing evening. When I was in London yesterday, there was a lot of Luton fans in around the stations and stuff. So yeah, that was brilliant. But congratulations to Luton Town. Now, we have discussed bottling. We've talked a lot about bottling. And if you want to describe what bottling is, Borussia Dortmund bottled the Bundesliga title. In my opinion, Arsenal didn't bottle the Premier League, but when all you need to do is win your final game at home against a team that you're expected to beat, and you go 1-0 down, and then you miss a penalty, and you go 2-0 down, and Bayern score an 87th minute goal to get the win that they ultimately needed in the end, because had Dortmund, of course, managed to get the draw and Bayern would have drawn, then it still would have been Dortmund's. But that goal from Musiala later on in the game secured the title for Bayern once again, and it affects Arsenal because it now means that Bayern Munich will indeed be in pot one of the Champions League for next season, when it was looking most likely that it would be Dortmund. So Arsenal will be in the same pot as Dortmund in the Champions League next season, we assume, based upon what's going on, and Bayern will be in pot one. So yes, not the best, and so Arsenal may have to face Bayern, but it's not the Bayern of the old days for me. I think it's a Bayern side that I would certainly back Arsenal to have, a really good chance of getting a good result against. So let's wait and see what happens. Mathieu Debuchy has retired from football at the age of 37. Of course, the former Arsenal man who joined us from Newcastle, but never was really able to kind of get, really going at the club. He made 13 appearances in the Premier League, which, when you consider the fact that he played a fairly decent amount and got into a regular rhythm with Newcastle, made 46 appearances for them in total, ended up only making 30 in all competitions for us after making a 10 million plus move from the Northeast. Wasn't able to, really get going, but we wish him the best in his retirement, and we'll always hate Marko Arnautovic for basically ending his Arsenal career, if you remember that. Was it like he was going off the pitch and then got shoved, and then yeah, it wasn't great when that happened. I remember it vividly, but it's a shame. But Mathieu Debuchy retires from football, and we wish him the best. Marquinhos scored again in the under-20s under-20s World Cup for Brazil. Got a goal and an assist in their 2-0 win over Nigeria. Certainly raising his profile after a difficult loan spell at Norwich City. And Marquinhos, of course, will return to Arsenal in the summer. We'll see him in pre-season, I imagine, as well. And then we'll have to wait and see what the kind of next step is for Marquinhos in the future. But a goal and assists makes it 2 so far in the group stages. Brazil will progress through to the next round of the competition. Athur Okonkwo is said to be attracting plenty of interests from both within the UK and also abroad as well, according to Charles Watts of Goal. After what has been a very successful Sturm Graz loan, I actually put him into my Arsenal squad for next season ahead of Karl Hein, based upon that becoming Arsenal's third choice and compete with Matt Turner. But it could be that Okonkwo gets a permanent exit from the club in the summer, and a successful loan spell could indeed mean that Arsenal get a decent figure if that is indeed to be the case. So it's always good when players do well on loan, because either you can bring them back, integrate them into the squad, or of course you can do the other route, which is to move them on and try and get a good fee, which hopefully will be the case for Athur Okonkwo. Now, moving to potential incomings, and according to Ryan Taylor of The Express, there is nothing in claims linking Arsenal at the moment with Matheus Franca and Pedrinho, the Brazilian youngster at Corinthians that we were linked to. The Express and Ryan Taylor have denied these reports and suggested that Arsenal aren't, in fact, looking at, well, maybe not looking at them, but certainly not going to be pushing or signing them, as some suggestions that were coming out of Brazil suggested Arsenal would be doing. That's their claims. I've heard nothing on my end. I'd heard nothing either way. So we're certainly going off the reports outside at the moment. But one day he's signing, the next minute there's nothing in it. So let's see who turns out to be right. Continuing with Rante's report as well on The Express, he suggests that despite the fact that Arsenal would have to pay £20 million to land Sacha Boey, There is not said to be a hot pursuit, as he describes it, in the French right back at the moment. There were suggestions that Arsenal were interested, and that interest certainly is there. But Arsenal haven't. Suggestions suggest here that Arsenal haven't actually made a bid as of yet, despite reports from Turkey suggesting that that Arsenal had indeed made a bid for Sacha Boey. So again, we'll have to wait and see. It's silly season. We're getting conflicting reports. We're getting crazy links. And we haven't even seen the window open yet. We're not even starting the Arsenal transfer show until Tuesday. And we're already seeing conflicting reports and different stories. But that's why we'll try and give you our best judgment here, and we'll round up as much of the news as we can. I think it's obvious there's an interest in the player, and that's as far as we've got right now. And I'm going to try and deliver to you a tactical breakdown on him very soon. So whether or not Arsenal sign him, we're still very much educated about who indeed he is. So moving to our final story and sticking with potential incomings. According to Ben Jacobs of CBS Sports, James Maddison is likely to cost around 40 to 45 million pounds from Leicester for whoever wants to sign them, and Arsenal could consider him an alternative to Mason Mount. Now, according to David Ornstein, Mount prefers a move to Manchester United above any other club. Perhaps that's because he's at Chelsea and, you know, that rivalry of Arsenal. He doesn't want to sully that Chelsea link all that much, although moving to Man United, I'm not sure it's going to do too many favours anyway. But Ben Jacobs suggesting here that James Maddison is indeed likely to cost between 40 to 45 million pounds as Arsenal consider their alternatives. So there you go. That's where we're at with all of the transfers. Arsenal will hope, of course, to bring in plenty of investments this summer. But a big recommendation for your own investments is to invest in the safety and security that NordVPN can bring you. By going to nordvpn.com/Gooner, you can get yourself a significant discount off a 1 or 2 year subscription that I heavily recommend you do. Because if you're in 2023 and you do not have a VPN, you're in trouble. You are in trouble. So make sure that you get hold of one and make sure that it's NordVPN. You get yourself that significant discount, but the NordVPN service also enables you to change your geolocation to anywhere else in the world digitally. It's like being given the ability to teleport your laptop's consciousness into another place around the world so that you can view things that you wouldn't typically be able to view in your country of origin, be that on your laptop, your phone, or your tablet. It is an absolute necessity. Best of luck also to those of you that entered into the latest Football Prizes competition. We'll be taking a bit of a break from Football Prizes across the summer and hopefully be restarting with them in the brand new season. But of course, if you just go to the Football Prizes website, keep track of any prizes that are going on throughout the transfer window. But we thank Football Prizes for their sponsorship of the channel over the past, few months, really. And they've helped us to do some great things on the channel, like improve the infrastructure. And there's more coming as well. Really looking forward to producing some more content, learning how to get some more stuff onto the channel as well. And I look forward to it. But thank you to Football Prizes for their sponsorship. And we will hopefully welcome them back for the new season in August. Right, let's go to part 2 then and your questions right after this. Okay, question time, part 2. It won't be a particularly long one because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to go play golf this morning. I'm just putting that out there. Just putting it out there. Let's hear from Grandmaster Hoot in the chat box, who says, how was the Union Chapel event last night? Do the Arsenal podcast fraternity all get on well? Any sore heads this morning? It was great. I did mention it at the start of the show. It was a fantastic event. Spoke to the guys afterwards. Met some really nice people as well for the first time. And sort of FK from Latte Firm as well. The queue was insane. As I was moving one way up the queue, FK's coming the other direction because that's how long the queue was. It kind of curved around all the roads in the local area. Spoke to Elliot and Clive afterwards. It was great to see them, and Paul, of course, too, who looked incredibly surprised when he saw me because I'd not seen Paul since Chicago, of course. And I didn't let him know I was going to be coming. So that was a great moment as well to see him. And his recommendation for what song should be played after today's game against Wolves is an interesting choice. It's an eclectic one. It's a little bit left field. I don't know if it's going to happen. But who knows? Maybe it will. Maybe someone was listening We'll have to wait and see. But it was a great event. And yeah, there's going to be some sore heads from people. I can guarantee you there was all the drinks were flowing. I genuinely, the way I felt this morning, and I feel like I'm pretty perky, and I think I'm coming across pretty perky from considering how heavy yesterday was, that I might be making a conscious effort genuinely to try and go more teetotal. But I say that now. I've said that before. And it's tricky, especially with summer. But I'm actually gonna try. We're gonna be doing the Eat, Sleep, Arsenal, Repeat podcast soon, and I actually want to talk a little bit about alcoholism, if that's the right terminology, in that show as well. So don't worry. The Eat, Sleep, Arsenal, Repeat has taken a bit of a pause recently, but we'll be back. We'll be back over the summer holidays and over the transfer window. So don't you worry. Matt G says, imagine you're Arteta and you're meeting Declan Rice. Can you give us your 30-second elevator pitch to convince him to join Arsenal? The elevator pitch. I love this. Sure. Do I need to get a timer? And we'll try go for 30 seconds on a pitch to Declan Rice. Right, let's see if we can do this. This is going to be terrible. Okay, timer in hand. Here we go. Mr. Rice. Obviously, you've seen Arsenal this season. Fantastic. Brilliant. Title challenging. Back at the top. Progressing. Only forwards this club has moved. And you can be the fulcrum of this team. You can sit at the base of that defence, or you could explore what you might be able to bring yourself moving forwards too. The goal you scored against Ghent, we can replicate that. And let's be real. There's no other choice that makes any more sense in this club with a manager that's going to take you to a whole new level. It's an easy one. 30 seconds. There you go. I hope that worked. Let's see if Declan Rice turns up. Yeah, goodness me. I'm not the guy doing transfers. I'm not the guy doing negotiations. And I think we've just seen why. Musa said, would Zinchenko be upset if Cancelo came to Arsenal? I always thought it was a significant reason for him leaving City. Potentially, yeah. I mean, there is an irony in that, isn't there? In the fact that Zinny's left because he's kind of fallen down the wayside at City a bit, comes to Arsenal and then is followed here by the man that was knocking him out of the team. So potentially he would be frustrated. But also I think that Cancelo's versatility to play on the right-hand side would be something to consider as well. You could play Zinchenko and Cancelo, but that might be a bit unbalanced. We'd have to wait and see. Steve says, who had the best season, us or Manchester United? I think it kind of depends upon the FA Cup final. If they win the FA Cup final, without a doubt, it's them. If they don't win the FA Cup final, I'm not sure that I would have swapped our seasons. I know that they finished third and got the League Cup and it's a trophy, but I think in the context of the season of what this means for us, about how close we got to City, about the belief around a title race, about what that could do in the transfer market for us and what it can say to players like Declan Rice about where this team is going, I think it's really important that we did what we did. But if Man United win 2 trophies, it's pretty inarguable at that stage because you couldn't turn down that. But the fact it's just a League Cup trophy, which I don't like being the one to kind of talk down on trophies. I don't on the FA Cup, but the League Cup's become so commercialized and so undermined as a tournament with the way in which it's approached, that it's tricky to kind of really get up for that and be jealous of anyone even winning it at this stage. Nick says, hey, Tom, any news on Ivan Fresneda? Only that Arsenal remain interested, Nick, in the player. They've continued to watch him, to scout him, to track him since their interest in January and slightly before January. The interest in Fresneda had built up a bit before January, but it came out during that January window. But they've only continued to track him. No suggestions that a bid is forthcoming at the moment. That could change very soon, but certainly the club are still looking at him as one of their potential right-back options for the summer. Penny Wayne says, what happens if Luton, if they're unable to get their stadium up to code, and will that impact the possible signings, meaning they are probably going straight back down? Penny Wayne asking a serious question, people. That is as rare as you will see in the chat box. But to answer your question, Penny Wayne, I don't know is the honest answer. I don't know. I think with something like getting the stadium up to code, they will know, they will be already preparing for that. They will already be in the process of doing everything necessary for that to happen. I remember Nottingham Forest didn't even have television screens in the press box like the first last season in the FA Cup, because you need television screens in the press box, I think, as part of the coding. So Luton will have to install that because obviously it gives the journalists the ability to see the replays and stuff, so they can write their we can write our stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of things, but I don't know is the answer. I don't know. So you'll have to take that as the best answer you're going to get. Nicholas or Nicolaus says, I know it's calculated that Arsenal will spend around £200 million this summer. Do you think that it will be enough to push Arsenal for that title? And how much do you think we need to spend in the winter window? Oh, I can't think about the winter window. I haven't started the summer window yet. I think it'll be a record-breaking summer for Arsenal. Certainly the indications that I've had from what Arsenal want to do seem to be that it's going to be a record-breaking summer in terms of spending. The targets that they have are very expensive, and they've got to get multiple targets, and they're ambitious, and they want to try and push City again. And that's going to take a lot of investment to do. Ultimately, Arsenal, in my opinion, need about 8 signings to be able to compete with Man City. And that's not going to happen in one window. So to do the best job that we can, I think we need to try and aim to get 5 or 6 really good signings through the door. I'm not talking about a youth option or a Marquinhos or a Turner, type deal. I'm talking about Rice, Caicedo, Simican. This is the level of player that I want to talk about Arsenal bringing in, and we need 5 or 6 of them. And that's expensive. Very expensive indeed. So let's wait and see what happens. Musa says, with your changing career, do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome, especially moments before talking to any of the team or the manager? Yeah, all the time. All the time. It's I would be lying if I said I don't take the job for granted, because I definitely do at times. And you kind of very quickly slip into this very comfortable feeling of like, you got to back yourself at the end of the day. People have called me arrogant before, and I absolutely understand why. Because I think confidence can be misinterpreted as arrogance sometimes, but you've got to back yourself. Otherwise you don't get these opportunities, you don't get these chances. You've got to back yourself to do a good job. You've got to back yourself to get into the positions that you can get into. But it doesn't stop me from still having that imposter syndrome sometimes. And like, how did I get here? I quit teaching 2 to 3 years ago. But what I always say is that there's no way that it wouldn't have happened without the channel, without you guys pushing me all the way. And I'm always very, very, very thankful for that. But I'll do my best to get a player after the game today. I'm hoping to speak to somebody. I've never done a final game of the season post-match media stuff. So this is going to be a first for me. And I don't know how chatty the players are going to want to be after the game, but we'll see. Hopefully we get to speak to a player after the game today. Thanks, Penny. Very kind of you indeed. Marcus says, is it true that Villa are upgrading their press box for our return? Yeah, it's going to have like the ringside ropes, around the press box now, just so you can like jump off and do some wrestling style moves. That's it. Dan says, who's going down? It's between Everton, Leeds and Leicester City, of course. I think Leicester and Leeds will go down. I want Leicester to stay up, would be my primary pick, mainly because they have the nicest press box. So selfish, but I've got to put my needs first. Everton have the worst, but they do have a new stadium, but I think they'd probably come straight back up if they went down. So I think I'd rather see Leeds or Leicester stay up over Everton. Plus, yeah, I just don't know what it is. There's something about Everton I've never been really that much of a fan of. So I think I want to see Everton go down, but hopefully we see Leicester stay up. That's who I would like to stay up. Gives me another reason to go to the East Midlands, which was always a nice excuse to as well. Saim says, I think 5 is enough to potentially win the league, and you have to take our young players are going to improve as well. It's so easy to say it, that this is going to be enough. But the reality of the situation is that Man City are going to strengthen as well. And it's so difficult to overcome a machine that just wins and wins. The expectation, if your expectation Arsenal are going to win the league next season, if that's what you're going into the season with the expectation of, then you're expecting Arsenal to get 95-ish, maybe more points, because that's what you need to win a league. It's mad. So it's very difficult to turn a team that's probably going to end the season on 84 points if we win today into a team that can get 10 plus more points. You know, people didn't expect us to get this many. We got 69, I think, was it last season? We could finish the season 15 points better off than last season. And then the expectation is for Arsenal to go and get 10 plus more points next season. That's the level of progression people are expecting in 2 years. It's crazy. I'm expecting, you know, a title challenge. I want to see a title challenge next season again. I'd love us to try and stick with City as much as possible. That is the aim, has to be to win trophies. But the expectation for me can't be that while Man City exist in their current form. But the expectation has got to be to challenge, and hopefully we can challenge again next year. I'm going to round things up there. Thank you, everybody, guys, for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for the next Raw Reaction show, breaking down the game against Wolves and probably doing some discussions around the season as a whole as well. And then on Tuesday is the beginning of the next series of the Arsenal transfer show at 8 a.m. Also, hopefully bringing you a tactical breakdown very soon on Sacha Boey as well. So looking forward to that. But if you are going to the game, have a fantastic day. Enjoy it. I'm going to be there. So if I spot anyone, it's always nice to say hello. And if you're going to be in the Tollington, I think there's going to be a lot of people in the Tollington today. So I am rightly informed that's the case. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of very sore heads from last night there as well. But I'll be at the game. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting down to the Emirates and watching the guys. So fingers crossed it's a good result, a good game, a good result, and a good performance. And hopefully you will see some cool faces. And Granit Xhaka will play his last game. Could be Kieran Tierney's last game. Could be Rob Holding's last game. There's a fair few players who it could be the last game for. So it'll be a nice opportunity to say goodbye and say thank you to all of them for the season. Thank you to everybody for tuning in across this entire campaign. It's been an absolute pleasure, but we're not going anywhere. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. as always, to keep bringing you all the latest regarding Arsenal's news. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you turn those notifications on so you never miss a show. And I will see you very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.